Hello, I'm Ben Knight, back again in Cairo's Tahrir Square, and this is Foreign Correspondent. She was a determined face in a big, defiant crowd. She was Selma in the square.
My fear is that if it doesn't work out, I'm going to be kidnapped and I'm going to go to jail and I'm going to be tortured to death.
Selma became our eyes and ears in a very dramatic moment in her country's very long history. The eviction of a man who many called the last pharaoh of Egypt. But is the new boss just the same as the old boss?
It would be very naive to expect that we tell them, okay, we want a civil state, we don't want you to have anything to do, and then they're just going to tell us, okay, fine, take it.
And when, if ever, will the people get their power? Being here in this square back in February, on the night that Hosni Mubarak quit, was something that I will simply never forget. Just to be around so many people who were exploding with joy and relief and probably, most of all, hope. Well, coming back, you can still find the hope, but I'm also seeing a lot of anger and confusion. On the right day, in the right light, Cairo looks serene. The Nile is a timeless constant. So too, it seems, is the struggle for power. The revolution is far from over. The rebellion gathered and grew 9 months ago at a busy roundabout in the centre of Cairo. As the world knows well enough now, it's a place called Tahrir Square. For 18 days and nights, Egyptians occupied the centre of the city.
For once, I feel like I belong somewhere.
Early on, Foreign Correspondent met one of the revolution's most impressive young leaders, Salma El-Tazi.
Yeah, you guys are still here 14, 15 days.
And followed her as the mood swung from day to day. Hopes rising and falling that President Hosni Mubarak would give up power.
It's overwhelming because there are so many emotions. It's so beautiful and so ugly at the same time, but there's this feeling of pride. Everyone in this square is walking with their back straight for the first times in their life. We are not animals. We have the right to be people and hold our heads high.
They're trying to start a civil war between the Egyptians.
Noor Ayman Noor was also in Tahrir Square in February, on the day the Mubarak regime paid thugs to attack pro-democracy demonstrators.
They're trying to get the Egyptians to kill each other. They sent them to be supporters with horses and camels so that they can be violent with us so that we would kill each other.
On the 11th of February, Hosni Mubarak finally stepped down.
I think we're going to celebrate for another couple of days in the
The Egyptian army took over, promising it would manage a transition to democracy. The revolutionaries had won, or so they thought. So when you were down in the square... Now, Salma El-Tazi fears that the army has no intention of going back to the barracks.
It's unfortunate that it has to be this ugly and that the army is forcing the situation that there should be so much bloodshed. But if this is what it takes, then this is what it takes.
Every day, the Egyptian army is looking more and more like the regime it replaced. This video posted on YouTube has provoked disgust. It's hard to watch. It shows soldiers and police bashing and giving electric shocks to two men they accuse of selling weapons. This is the sort of brutality for which the Egyptian police were despised, methods which the army was thought not to practice.
What breaks my heart is the fact that we all knew it would be a difficult road after Mubarak left. I just never thought that we'd be oppressed in the exact same way by very similar people, using the exact same mechanisms.
Noor Ayman Noor is the son of a prominent Egyptian politician and bears the scars of being a revolutionary. Aged just 21, all his energies go into resisting the military's repression.
People getting beaten up, people getting killed, people getting arrested, people being placed on military trials, as well as, again, using the media to scare people, to give them the impression that, okay, the revolution is over, now it's time to start building again.
They're just not going to give it to us like this. I mean, let's be realistic. These people were running the country for the past 60 years. And it would be very naive to expect that we tell them, okay, we want a civil state, we don't want you to have anything to do, and then they're just going to tell us, okay, fine, take it. I mean, it wouldn't make sense.
Each year, Egypt marks the anniversary of the 1973 war with Israel as Armed Forces Day. The army has traditionally had the trust of the Egyptian people, and that trust was strengthened back in February when soldiers came onto the street promising not to fire on protesters. It was the turning point of the revolution, and it paved the way for the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces, known as SCAF, to take over, promising elections within 6 months. The SCAF leader is Field Marshal Mohammed Tantawi, who was Hosni Mubarak's defence minister for 20 years, and now fills the TV screens once dominated by the president. He claims progress towards democracy is being made, but many Egyptians have stopped listening.
You know, the Armed Council, the SCAF, trying to kill the revolution. We went to the streets in 25th of January against police and torture, and now we have police and army police. We have military trial. We have over than 12,000 Egyptians accused.
Bethana Kamal was a newsreader on Egyptian state television until she quit 5 years ago, saying she could no longer spruik the government's propaganda. The revolution has given her a direction. She's now running for president.
How to trust army? The mentality of the army is to give orders and to obey orders. I believe that the army don't want to give the power to a civil president. That's what I believe.
عسكر 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 ليه؟ عسكر 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 ليه؟ للصحافة المصرية. للصحافة المصرية.
When the military council SCAF announced last month it was bringing back censorship laws, journalists were furious. In recent months, reporters have been harassed and arrested. Newspapers have been closed. And at Egyptian state television, very little has changed, as Bethana Kamal discovered when she appeared on a talk show.
أولاً برنامجي هو مطالب الثورة والميدان. عيش حرية كرامة إنسانية.
تمام.
السلوغان بتاعي حيكون أجندتي مصر.
State TV management weren't impressed. The presenter was told to kill the interview.
هو أنا مجبر إن أنا أختم الحلقة. أنا في اتصالات جت للمخرجة في الكنترول من أول دكتور سامي الشريف رئيس اتحاد الإذاعة والتلفزيون لغاية إنه اختم الحلقة دلوقتي.
هو أسوأ من إعلان مبارك.
2 days later, the army called.
They charged me with insulting a member of the Army Council and insulting the army. But I said, I respect very much the Egyptian army. But me and all the Egyptians have the right to criticize the Army Council and his politics. They can't accept criticizing them. But why we made a revolution?
In the working class area of Shubra, many people are asking the same question. So you're saying that the mosques have got louder in recent times?
Yes. And even after the revolution, of course, they started under Sadat. We never had that before.
Dr. Nawal Saadawi is one of Egypt's most famous authors and activists, and another veteran of Tahrir Square.
We have a backlash. We have a backlash against the revolution, against women, against secularism, against equality, against democracy.
This is the problem. Everyone in Egypt has their own idea about what their revolution was about. Do you trust the army to steer Egypt towards democracy?
No. Two things I don't trust. Military rule and religious rule. We must have a secular, civil government.
And what if you don't get it?
We'll fight for it. Nobody dreamt. I am a very, I'm a woman of struggle, of confrontation, you know. I am a fighter, not only a writer. So I struggle for everything in my private life and in my public life. So we never dreamt that Mubarak will leave.
The revolution was not just a reaction to the excesses of the regime, it was also driven by the fundamentals of life. Ghalia Mahmoud is in many ways fairly typical of Egypt's massive working class. So the poverty, was that why you supported the revolution, or was there another reason?
كنت طبعا بأيد الثورة لأن الثورة قامت ضد الفقر والجوع، وهو ده كان الهدف الأساسي في العدالة الاجتماعية. إن في ناس عايشة كويس قوي وفي ناس مش لاقية تاكل، فهي دي كانت أساس الثورة، العدالة الاجتماعية.
So Ghalia, what's your weekly food budget for your family?
الأسبوع يعني ممكن ما تتعداش 100 جنيه طول الأسبوع.
So for about $15 a week, you're feeding a family of 10. So what do they eat for that much money?
يعني ممكن لو ياكلوا مرة واحدة بس في الأسبوع، ممكن تبقى فراخ أو لحمة، والباقي بيتعمل خضار مع رز وحاجات كده.
While Ghalia still skimps on the household budget, the revolution has given her a chance to show other Egyptians what they can do.
أهلا وسهلا بيكم يا حبايبي، والنهارده يومنا يوم جديد ولذيذ.
It's changed her life in ways she could never have expected. Ghalia Mahmoud is Egypt's newest celebrity chef.
وهنعمل كوسة بانيه بقى، مش فراخ بانيه، كوسة بانيه بالبيض والبقسماط. دي حاجة حلوة قوي هتعجبكم هتشوفوها.
وهنعمل شوية بطاطس محمرين لزوم بقى الأكل.
There's never been a show like this on Egyptian television. And not just because Hosni Mubarak's wife Suzanne banned women in headscarves from appearing on screen.
النظام القديم ما كانش عاوز يوري الناس ان في 90% من الشعب المصري بياكل كده. كان دايما يطلع بالبرامج الفخمه بيفهموا العالم كله ان الشعب المصري بياكل في ديوك رومي وفي بوري وفي اسماك ما لهاش اول ولا اخر وفي اكلات فخمه. فما كانوش عاوزين يوروا الوجه الاصلي، اصل مصر.
Ghalia Mahmoud was discovered while she was working as a cook for the sister of TV producer Mohammed Gohar. He knew she'd be perfect for his new station, called 25, after the January 25th revolution. Channel 25 broadcasts from a studio in the shadow of the massive state television building. As we left it that night, we walked straight into demonstrators who were targeting that TV centre, known as the Maspero. Coptic Christians were demanding that the army keep its promise to protect all Egyptians. Since the revolution, they've come under increasing attack from Muslim extremists.
The Egyptian revolution meant for all Egyptians freedom. But unfortunately, the freedom didn't reach us until now. Until now, we didn't get in. I'm Muslim, but I'm talking by the same tongue of my Coptic brothers. The Egyptian revolution didn't protect them, didn't protect their freedom to religion.
Four nights later, we're back near the government television centre again, watching a much bigger rally by Christians and some of their Muslim allies. Initially, they're attacked by thugs. Then, there are running street battles with riot police and soldiers. State TV inflames the situation, telling its viewers the army is coming under attack from Christians and that people should come onto the streets to help the soldiers. Armoured vehicles career into crowds, crushing protesters to death. We heard gunshots. Riot police fire tear gas and charge with batons raised. We're chased across a bridge spanning the Nile. State TV reports that 3 soldiers have been killed, but it says nothing about any other casualties. At Cairo's Coptic hospital, we find them. Chaos reigns in the morgue. People are keen to show us the victims. There's only room for 3 bodies in the refrigerated section. The bodies of 14 others are laid on the floor, their faces uncovered for their families to identify them. This is not the first time that I've been in a morgue, but it would have to be the most distressing. Normally, you're looking at bodies that are casualties of war. These are casualties of something else. I can't describe the injuries. When a face is caved in, it doesn't come from a bullet. It comes from something, who knows what. What is also distressing is the way that the grief here is now turning to anger. And outside these walls is the Egyptian army. Now, this is not where the protest and the riot took place. It was 4 or 5 kilometres away from here. But the army has now come here. There are running battles outside in the street. We can't leave. No one in here can leave. Why are they there?
We are Christian. We come for peace. We only come to Maspero and we tell them we finish about 8 o'clock.
They said that you set fire to the police vehicles, that police officers were killed?
Yeah, the police officers and the army, the Egyptian army. I cannot believe the Egyptian army has killed Egyptian people. Whatever nationality, we are Egyptian. We cannot believe of that. How come he put this to us? Why? This is a gunshot! This is a gunshot!
At least 27 people were killed and 300 wounded in the worst episode of violence since the revolution. SCAF called a media conference to defend itself against accusations of murder.
أن القوات المسلحة لا يمكن أن توجه النيران إلى الشعب.
The army claims soldiers didn't use live ammunition and didn't deliberately run over anyone. It blames the deaths on unnamed infiltrators trying to destroy the revolution.
And they always use big words like foreign conspiracy, mysterious powers of darkness, and this is not a joke. One of the statements said the mysterious powers of darkness. It was like Darth Vader is invading Cairo. They never tell you who this is, but they always keep it vague, and they always make you feel that there is this huge conspiracy against Egypt, and it's everyone's duty to really protect it, and the only way to protect it is to kill the people that are demonstrating in the street.
يعني أصحاب المحلات الموجودين في المنطقة اللي حوالين منطقة ماسبيرو.
On the night of the Coptic protest, Channel 25 shows pictures of the melee outside its windows. Suddenly, armed soldiers burst into its studio. The pregnant news presenter is terrified. A Christian staffer is beaten up. Channel 25 protests against the army raid and shuts down. Ghalia Mahmoud's new career looks short-lived. But in the past week, both Channel 25 and Ghalia are back on the air. Many other Egyptians are also finding that the revolution isn't delivering change. The economy is paralysed. Half the population lives on less than $2 a day. Even in the fertile Nile Valley, farmers can only afford to lease tiny plots of land. They're desperately poor. In the village of Kafr Hamid, there's no sanitation and very little running water and electricity. It has only a junior school, and as many as 85 students are crammed into each classroom. This village is believed to be the poorest in the governorate of Giza, although figures are almost impossible to come by. But it's exactly the sort of place that was ignored and taken for granted by the ruling party. No politician of any consequence ever came here, and certainly no one ever felt the need to campaign here. But tonight, that's going to change. Bethana Carmel wants to be president to improve villagers' lives. Yet she's asking some difficult questions of potential voters.
أنت مؤمن بالمساواة؟ يعني حق الغني زي حق الفقير؟ يعني إن كلنا لازم نتساوى؟ لا إحنا نؤمن إن ده حق لازم نناضل علشانه؟ إنه ما فيش مسلم أحسن من مسيحي؟ ولما نحب نعلم الولد والبنت؟
She crashes a wedding party, but no one seems to mind. Her TV profile probably helps. Most people just seem stunned that someone like her is actually paying attention to them. At the mayor's house, village leaders are pouring out their problems. Bethana Carmel asks them to swear a pledge.
أقسم بالله العظيم أني لن أعود إلى سابق عهدي مواطن سلبي وأني لن أدع أحد يأخذ حقي وحق وطني وأبنائي.
One positive effect of the February Revolution has been the emergence of grassroots political debate in Egypt. There are now more than 50 new political parties. And in Tahrir Square, come most Fridays, each sets up its own stage and PA system, each trying to drown out the others with ear-splitting speeches. The The first round of parliamentary elections is due at the end of the month. But even now, after 9 months in charge, SCAF issues contradictory instructions about how those elections will be conducted. The pro-democracy campaigners have no confidence in them.
We're going to see lots of bloodshed during these elections so that the army can come back and say, look, we said it before, the Egyptian people aren't ready now for democracy. It's going to be a mini military take, or we're going to take things over until things are stable again, and then we'll open things up for democracy later.
18 days of defying the Mubarak regime dramatically changed Salma El-Tazi's life. And while maintaining the rage still dominates her life, she is getting back to work, making documentaries. It's not easy finding the balance.
I do not expect the revolution to be over soon. We are cleaning up the mess of the past, not only 30 years, I believe the past 60 years. And it's not going to happen in 9 months.
When the Coptic community buried their dead, they called them martyrs. It's an overused word in the Middle East, but it's still highly loaded. As each coffin arrives, waves of emotion whip through the cathedral. For some, the anguish is too much to bear. Respect for human rights was a key demand of pro-democracy campaigners. While the army initially seemed to understand this, the slaughter of Egyptian Christians has triggered the biggest crisis in the country since the revolution. The military council intends to hold on to power until the constitution is rewritten and a presidential election is held. That could be as late as 2013. Far too long for an impatient, angry people.